Now, a couple weeks ago, I made a video talking about my personal workstation setup and what I use on my PC, how I have everything set up. And I talked about how I personally use Linux, specifically in WiVRn. I have a Windows VM that I use with GPU pass-through in order to run Unreal Engine, VR, and a lot of other applications that I don't really get access to on Linux. And while that all works fine, I've been trying to find ways of using the Linux OS for a lot more of my development. And while there's certain limitations to that, I think I found one more key in order to making Linux a better solution for VR and VR development as your main workstation. It's called WiVRn, or WiVRn. I'm not quite sure what the correct pronunciation of this is, but I wanted to go over this and just kind of talk about whether or not it's even easy to set up in the first place, but in addition to that, how well it works. Because right now the only alternative to this is ALVR. And while ALVR works great, ALVR does have its drawbacks with things like having difficulty passing back and forth the microphone and speakers and things like that. Now, I already have it pulled up. This is, I'm going to call it WiVRn. This is WiVRn here. It's pretty straightforward from what I've looked through. It's really easy to set up. It looks like all we do is install the WiVRn dashboard, make sure we have a couple of services running on our Linux distro, and then installing it to our headset. And from what I understand, WiVRn is actually available on App Lab, so you can download it without needing to sideload it or anything. There's no additional difficulty if you want to simply run things this way. So let's talk about actually getting this set up and everything. First thing I want to do is I'm just going to follow this get started guide, and we're going to see how this goes. Now, there's a few different options for installing WiVRn. It seems that they would recommend Flatpak, and probably for most people I'd recommend you use Flatpak. It's probably going to be a lot easier for you. I, however, am using EndeavorOS, which, in case you're not aware, is an Arch distro, so I know that this will work as well. And this should work on just about any distro if for some reason you can't get Flatpak working. I'm actually going to try this method only because I don't actually think I have Flatpak installed on here at the moment. I could be wrong, but I don't really install Flatpak applications. So I am just going to run this. Yay-S WiVRn dashboard. This might end up taking a minute, I imagine, to actually get installed and set up, but we'll go ahead and let this run and see how well this works. If all else fails, I can see about installing Flatpak and getting all that going. I don't see why this would be very difficult. Alright, so while I have WiVRn downloading, I actually want to see about getting it installed on my headset. Now, like I said, as far as I'm aware, WiVRn is part of App Lab, so I should simply be able to look it up in the App Store, and assuming that it is in fact on App Lab like I would expect it to be, we should just be able to install it and get set up. I am still unfortunately having difficulty with my left controller. I'm not quite sure what's going on with it, unfortunately. My right controller is periodically giving me some issues as well. I really probably need to see about digging out my old, the original Quest 2 controllers. But that'll be a subject for a later day. Now, in order to install WiVRn, like I said, this should already be on the Quest store. So let me see if I can click on that. And it should be simply as easy as just typing in. Oh, I can actually get this to come up. Now, the thing about App Lab, I could be wrong, but I think you actually have to enter things exactly as it's supposed to be spelled. So it should be WiVRn like that in order to bring up things from App Lab. Did I spell that right? Oh, you know what? There's no E. So hold on. It should just be WiVRn like that. There we go. So now we should have WiVRn set up, and it should just be as simple as installing it. What's going on, I can kind of see it underneath the headset. On my PC, it seems to be working just fine. It seems like it's still building everything, but everything seems to be set up. I'm going to try, since it looks like the Quest 2 will be done before my PC, I'm going to boot it up and just kind of see what it looks like when we start it. So if we just go and start WiVRn here. Perfect. Kind of wish I could move that a little bit. It does seem like it's better for when you're standing. Let me see here, settings. So let's see here. It looks like we can adjust the resolution scale, the refresh rate if necessary. We do have a lot of the typical values that you would expect. I'm going to try enabling the microphone just because I want to see how that works. And it does look like you need to give permission for the microphone to be enabled. Let's see, enable hand tracking. We'll go and leave that running. Video pass-through in lobby. I mean, that's kind of up to your own preference, I think. I'm going to show performance metrics because I do want to see what this ends up looking like. I want to see what else we got here. We got the about, licenses. I'm pretty sure that's pretty standard stuff. And then we have the serverless. This is where we're going to end up coming in order to actually connect to our PC once the time is there. Pretty blank, pretty standard stuff. Oh, that's how you move it. Okay, I didn't realize that there was a little prompt that would pop up when we did that. So you can actually move around the window if it's necessary. Palm up if you're doing hand tracking, or hitting A next will also let you move around the window when it's necessary. I actually kind of like that as a option. Perfect. Let me see how this is going over here on my PC. Does seem like it's also working perfectly fine so far. I am going to look, because I think there's one more step that we need to actually do in order to have WiVRn running. Actually, two more things, I guess. Okay, here's the couple things I was looking at. So we have, we need to make sure the Avahi daemon is running. This should already be running on my computer, I think, because I think this is, I could be wrong, but I think this is the same thing you need to have running for SSH. I do have it running, so it should not be a problem. I do also want to check, oh, you know what? I do have a firewall, I think, running on this PC. So let me, I think I actually need to run it this way. Firewall, here we go. And I don't think I have these ports running. I'm going to kind of blur this section just because I don't want to be showing what ports I'm running or anything like that. Actually, we'll do runtime, and then I'm going to go to ports. And then what I want to do is I want to add a couple ports. So let me see. So we need to have 53, 53. Ooh, I don't have my numpad on. 53, 53, and that's going to be on UDP. Go and OK that. And then we also, it looks like we need to enable 9757, and this is for both TCP and UDP, so I actually need to create two protocols for this one. 7, which one did I just do? I did TCP, okay. UDP, okay. Perfect, and then what I should just be able to do is runtime to permanent, perfect. Okay, so I should have no issues there. Now I do also want to check, since we're still waiting on WiVRn to build over here from the AUR. I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe there's one more thing we actually have to do to certain Steam applications. How do I use a wired connection? It'd be like setting it. I thought there was like an additional step that had to happen to, oh, here we go. Set the correct launch options for games. This is what I was looking for. So there is going to be a little bit of additional setup that I have to do for certain Steam applications. So I'm actually going to try this. I'm going to try this on just one game because I want to see how well this works. So let me exit big picture over here. We're going to run this from the Steam library over here. Okay, and I want to keep it simple. I want to run Beat Saber. I feel like this is one that's kind of easy to kind of pick up on any sensitivities or anything like that. Let's see here. Pressure, vessels, files. Ooh, wrong button. Actually, let me do this. Let me move this over to 5. Pressure, write equals xdg runtime. All right, so my understanding is that, assuming I understand this all correctly, once we have this in our launch options for WiVRn, it should pretty much function just fine. There shouldn't be any additional setup or anything like that that needs to happen. Let me just double check over here if we check in the Git. See, there's an issue I'm having with WiVRn, it seems, when I'm installing it from the AUR. I'm not really sure what's causing this issue. So I might have to install it as a Flatpak. If this doesn't work, I'm going to try installing it as a Flatpak and see if I might just have an issue. I don't actually remember for sure if I have Flatpak installed on this. Hold on, you can now start an OpenXR on your computer for Steam games. Hold on your computer, run WiVRn server, WiVRn dashboard. On your headset, run WiVRn from the app library. You can now start an OpenXR application on your computer for Steam games. You also need to set the launch options to be able to use WiVRn. Right-click on the game properties in general, set the launch options to the value given in the dashboard. Okay, so the dashboard will actually tell me what to do. Apparently I don't actually need to do what this says. So scratch what I guess I had said earlier about needing to do this. It looks like WiVRn's going to tell me exactly what I need to do, and I don't have to actually worry about that. I am a little curious. TCP only... Yeah, I'll have to look at this here in a second. Alright, so I spent a little bit of time doing some trial and error. I guess for some reason the AUR is not working for WiVRn. That's alright. I do, however, have Flatpak installed. So this will make it real nice and easy. Let's see here. I'll install this. I guess I'll install it to the system. I don't know if it really matters. Required runtime. Yep, we'll go and install the required runtime as well and just go and let everything install. Just to be clear, I don't have anything against Flatpaks or anything like that. I don't know. I prefer to run things for the native platform that they're designed for. I really don't have anything against it or anything like that. If something runs better in a Flatpak or Flatpak is the only option, I'll run a Flatpak. I'm sure I've used Flatpak for things before. I'm not really sure that I have anything installed on this system particularly, but yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. I'm not going to complain about it. So, and it'll probably make things easier for a lot of you guys. If you guys are mostly used to Flatpaks, maybe not quite as familiar with the AUR, trying to install things through source, or I am actually not at all familiar with Gentoo, I'll be honest. So yeah, this will make things just nice and easy for, I think, most people. All right, so we now have WiVRn installed. So it did perfectly show up. I'm going to go and close the rest of this because I don't think any of this is necessary. Let's go and run through the wizard real quick. So I have installed from the Meta Store, so I don't need to worry about that. Select the application you want to start. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, let's do Beat Saber. For Steam games, right click on preferences and paste this in the launch options. Perfect. Okay, so it's a good thing too. They do have this because the launch option would actually be slightly different. It looks like for Flatpak. It looks like this might be if you are not. It looks like the previous one I'd used is if you are not using a Flatpak. So we'll go and close that. Should be perfectly fine. Let's do next. Start the WiVRn app on your headset. Okay, and it's got a pin. All right. I'm not going to try by USB. Ideally, I would like to use things wirelessly. I don't really want to. All right, I restarted WiVRn real quick, just because I wanted to make sure I could record everything going on in the headset as well. I've selected Auto Connect. That's not automatically clicked, by the way. By default, you have a little connect button over here that you can use instead. And then it actually shows on my screen what the pin is going to be. So for me, it's 659.809, it looks like. 809. Okay, and then it says that I'm connected and I'm ready to go. Perfect. So what should happen is if I come right over here, right now Beat Saber is updating, so I'm gonna give it a second to finish updating. It looks like it doesn't have too much longer. Hopefully. Beat Saber update required. Okay, well it's updating right now. I don't really know that warning was necessary on my PC. All right, so it looks like we're starting to get a connection. I'm still waiting for things to load. Oh, and I guess WiVRn crashed. I'm not really sure why. Let me see what happens. Okay. Oh, well, I mean, it's working. I wasn't expecting for it to be like large in the center here. Let me see if I can connect my controller. Oh, perfect. Okay, I think it's a little off. Let me give it a second. All right, so, I mean, it's a little distracting this being right in the center. Initial impressions, just kind of testing around with WiVRn. It does work. The video itself seems to be a little better. Let me try just kind of playing around with this a little bit. The one thing that I am noticing right now with WiVRn, the headset seems to be very reactive. The controller, on the other hand, I think it's starting to catch up. There was a second there when I first connected. It didn't seem to be working great. One thing I am noticing, I don't know if I'm getting any audio. Let me check something real quick. Okay, so something to note, on my PC, there's actually a WiVRn output device that you do have to switch to if it doesn't automatically switch. Oh man, that's actually working great. Actually, I'm gonna check too, because I want to see if the microphone also shows up as like an input device. It does. Testing, testing. Oh, that is fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna switch back to my Q9U. Okay, I swapped back to my Q9 to my microphone. It's a Samsung Q9U. In case you're curious why I started saying that, I wanted to see if the microphone works. The microphone does seem to work on the headphones, which is fantastic. I'm already getting a lot farther than I ever have with the LVR, and I required no additional setup. I'm gonna try. I'm not really in a great position to be trying. I kind of want to see. Okay, so I don't know if the headset is really going to pick this up very well. This audio might end up being a little weird, but yeah, it seems to be working pretty well. There is a little bit of latency, and I think I'm going to try and play around with that just a little bit. Let me, real quick. Okay, let me real quick. I want to try just playing around with the settings real quick and seeing what kind of things I can do here. So I'm gonna turn that off for a second because that's actually really distracting. I'm gonna turn down the video resolution. We'll do, this isn't the best way to do it with tracking like that. I'm gonna do the refresh rate at 90. we're gonna do resolution scale at, it's 100%. I don't want to do above that for now, at least. And I think all that should be fine. So I should be able to come over here, connect. I will say, just adjusting those, this seems to be a lot better, a lot more reactive than what I was getting before. I am really getting annoyed with my controller, to be honest. But this is working a lot better than what I've gotten with ALVR. Now, no judgment to ALVR. ALVR is still fantastic, but quite frankly, WiVRn looks a lot better. This was a much easier setup. Yes, the settings are, kind of dumbed down a little bit, but quite frankly, this is a much better setup. And I now have microphone. Oop, I turned on pass-through, and I have audio for both the microphone and speakers working without having to have done anything additional or come up with some workaround, like having a Bluetooth headphone connected to, directly to my computer. This just works a lot better. The controller thing, that's entirely my fault. I've just kind of been having some issues with my controller. So that's kind of a me thing at the moment. That's nothing to do with WiVRn or anything like that. And I think if I was doing face tracking or hand tracking, then I think that would work just fine too. I'm now back with a new t-shirt, and I have to say that while WiVRn is amazing for playing games and I've enjoyed using it and it works really, really well, there's one issue that I've had with WiVRn that I just haven't quite been able to figure out a way around, and that is actually doing any sort of development with WiVRn. Now, I don't know if it's something about the way that WiVRn runs. I know that it basically hijacks SteamVR when you go to launch a VR application. SteamVR does not launch, WiVRn takes over instead, and it just takes over from there. But the one thing that I haven't been able to figure out is when launching Unreal Engine, it doesn't give you the option for using VR Preview. Now, my best guess, if you really want to continue using WiVRn, is you'd have to package your project and then load it as a non-SteamVR game with all the necessary modifications to the application launch that you would have to do with any other VR application. Now, ALVR is probably going to end up sticking as my application of choice for development purposes, simply because I don't really need the audio. I'm usually right in front of my computer. I have headphones on anyways. It's not that big of a deal if I'm not able to get things like audio pass through to work. But for anything leisurely like playing games, I'm definitely going to be using WiVRn in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next reality.